Hello viewers, and welcome to another Passion 9 vlog. Resident Evil 2 Remake is out. People are playing it, people are talking about it, people are celebrating it, because it's good. It's really, really good. I will have my own thoughts on it soon, my own, full breakdown on what I think, but so far, all I can say is, it's amazing. It's a fantastic game. And I think, for me, it's a true return to form for the series. It's the perfect blend of, classic Resident Evil stuff and the more recent, RE4 stuff. It's great. And there's even a little bit of, what they've learned from RE7 kind of blended in there as well. Which brings me to the discussion here, which is that Resident Evil 7, of course, came out way back in January 2017, which feels like a century ago now, but, whatever. I liked it. I played it once, beat it once. It was just one and done, and I was like, I liked it. I didn't love it, however. And I think that is what surprises me the most about Resident Evil 7. A lot of people over time that I know on social media have told me, man, that game gets better every time I go back to it. I only like it more and more. And I've heard that from everybody. Like, everybody who's played Resident Evil 7 has told me this. And I am definitely in the minority here. I disagree. I actually feel the complete opposite about that game. The more in retrospect, the more time has passed, especially once I started seeing more and more and hearing more and more about the Resident Evil 2 remake that is out now, more and more in my memory, it's just like, it was okay. It's fine. But I've never had a desire to go back and play it again. Like, that's the thing that I think surprises me the most about everybody else's enthusiasm for Resident Evil 7, because I liked it. I thought the first half of that game especially was really solid stuff. It went back to the traditional puzzle solving, key hunting, creepy atmospheric exploration that the series was once all about, and was once the top priority. And I feel like a lot of that is lost in the second half of the game. I feel like that all gets kind of abandoned in the second half. That's not to say the game goes bad or that it becomes boring. I did find it entertaining from start to finish, but there were some later sections that were a bit rough, and I hate to say it because it is a far better game than Resident Evil 5 and 6, but a little rushed. There were parts of that game that were a little rushed, a little half-baked, a little underdeveloped. I think one of the main antagonists especially, Lucas, is never paid off. He's never given a final battle or any resolution to his character. And the game spends just as much time setting him up as it did the other members of the Baker family. So that's an example there. And there are just story elements of the second half of Resident Evil 7 that totally contradict the first half. It just feels like flimsy writing. And look, I'm not saying the series has ever been Shakespearean when it comes to its writing. Whatever. It's never been avant-garde or pushing the envelope in video game storytelling. But just Resident Evil 2 Remake, as an example, is based on a far better story foundation. The characters are just more endearing to me. They're more memorable. Everything about the monsters and the location is just more iconic, and there's just so much more to take in. And I feel like RE7 maybe had that potential in the beginning. It was a unique location. The Baker family were a unique antagonist. But I don't think the game fully committed to that. Like, by the second half, it just it almost feels like a lighter version of games like Resident Evil Revelations or even closer to like 4 and 5. But still, a decent game. I liked 7. I just think it was a little rough around the edges. I don't think it was, one of the better entries in the series. I would still rank 2, 3, and 4 above this game, far above Resident Evil 7. And I think the remake that just came out is the best the series has ever been. It's like they perfected the formula. The pacing, the gameplay, the exploration of puzzles, all that is perfect in this one. And so, you know, I I think 7 is still a game that you should check out if you haven't checked it out yet. But you know, also find it hard to understand why people still hold it in such high regard. Most people I've talked to and most critics are loving the new one, but there is at least one critic I've heard from that I really love, and he's a popular guy, but he's already said that like he's got a review coming up, and he's saying, I think it's a step back for the series. I think RE2 Remake is a step back. It's going back to this old stuff that doesn't, 7 was braver and bolder, and I don't know. To me, this is the best place for the series to be right now. Just in terms of polish, just in terms of getting all of those gameplay features in the right place. You know what I mean? Just getting that formula back. Especially since survival horror in general for the last 10 years has mostly been these hide and seek games, these no combat, gotta hide from things, and Amnesia, Outlast, Alien Isolation. And I'm not saying those games are bad, but it's been so long since we've had a horror game where it covers all these bases. You've got puzzle solving and ammo conservation, and you can fight back. You have those options. It's not just hide under a desk or something for the whole game. It's just nice to get back to that, formula, because it's been a while. I mean, The Evil Within tried to resurrect it a few years ago, and that was kind of a horrible game. So it's great to not only see Resident Evil at its best again, but to see the survival horror genre at its best again. Again, in my opinion, not everybody necessarily wants the same things out of this genre that I do. But I definitely think there's a huge craving for that. Obviously, because, people have been loving the crap out of this new one, myself included. So I feel like we're due for this. And if going back and remaking one of the best received entries in the series and retelling that story was, an excuse to get back to the roots of the franchise, then that's fine by me. I can't get cynical about that when it's not only such a great remake, but so perfectly captures what made the series great in the first place. So 7, I guess for me, Resident Evil 7 was like righting the ship. It's like Capcom finally righted the ship. They were lost at sea with 5 and 6. They finally got through the fog or whatever. And with Resident Evil 2 Remake, it's like that ship is back into port and we're all popping champagne and celebrating. They brought it home is what they did. So, yeah, I thought 7 was okay. I played it once. I don't think like playing it in VR or anything else or downloading whatever DLC they released after the fact is going to like make me love it more. It's just like, it was fine. It was a good stepping stone to Resident Evil 2 Remake. I don't agree that it was ever great. And that's my take on that one. I also wasn't crazy about the first person perspective. It's nice to get a game that's a horror game again that's got the more cinematic third-person view. I don't know. These are all preferences. Tell me what you guys think about Resident Evil 7, about the new Resident Evil 2 Remake if you've played it. And as always, live for the passion.